back when I was 24 years old. I had an opportunity. The Dallas Cowboys wanted to draft me, and the Denver Broncos wanted to draft me. That's back when we had two leagues. They hadn't yet merged. And they brought scouts from both of the teams, and I told them I was going to join Campus Crusade staff, and so don't waste a draft on me because I'm not going pro. And so I joined the Campus Crusade staff. But in the meantime, you know, when I turned down the opportunities to play pro football, the desire to play pro football never left. And I remember going out and I was praying, God, what should I do? Why have I not lost this desire to play pro football? And I began to feel like I was trying to convince God that I ought to be playing pro football. So I didn't really have peace to do it, but I guess I wanted to. And so I was reading this book by Dr. Orr at my wife's parents' house, and there's a story in there that God really used in my life in a very special way. And this doctor had antique vases, and I guess that was his hobby. And his little son got his hand stuck in one of his really expensive antique vases. When they did everything they could to get the hand out, and they couldn't get his hand out. And as the story goes, finally they decided they didn't have a choice but to break the vase. And just before they broke the vase, the little boy says, Dad, can I let go of this marble I'm holding in my hand? You know, and he lets go of the marble, and of course, he pulls his hand out of the vase. Now, that was the story, but the point of the story is the marbles are those little things in our life that we hang on to. The vase is God's perfect plan for our life. So, I realized that God had a perfect plan for my life, and if it wasn't to play pro football, then I'd be a fool to hang on to it. So I went out that day and I'm walking down the street saying, Lord, I just want to serve you. I want to do whatever you want. I want to go wherever you want me to go. And if you don't want me to play pro football, I'll walk away from it. And I'm assuming as I'm walking down that door that those days are over for me. But as I went down, walking down there, talking to God, you know, and it wasn't anything audible, we all know that, but God laid it on my heart very clearly that I should start a ministry for athletes. And that someday we would be reaching athletes all over the world for the gospel. And it was okay to go play pro football. And I signed with the Los Angeles Rams for a good contract. They paid me a fair amount of money to come. And so I was working out again. I was working out real hard, and I injured myself, but I felt like if God wanted me to play pro football, He could have healed me. At any moment, He could have healed me. And I thought, if God doesn't heal me, then I need to get focused on starting this sports organization, which we didn't have a name for it at that time, but of course it became Athletes in Action. So now I'm relieved from camp, so I go back to Campus Crusade. I went and I talked with Bill, you know, and he said, Dave, you know, I've been praying that God would raise up somebody to start a ministry with athletes. You know how we started with athletes back at UCLA in the early days. So I got great affirmation from Bill and a lot of encouragement from Bill. But the U.S. directors decided that they had another major campus that I should go to. And Bill had already said I could start Athletes in Action. Now I got the U.S. director saying he wanted me to go on the campus. You know, and I remember going back home to my wife's parents and praying, and I said, you know, I'm just going to leave Crusade. If they're going to treat me this way, I'm just going to leave. And that was kind of the attitude. Then one of the guys who'd been one of my senior men at OU the year before, and I got talking, he said, Dave, don't we trust that God's in control of our life? I said, yeah. And he says, can't you trust the people then that God has put over you, that they can determine God's will for your life? Well, I knew where he was going with this. So I went back and I really sought the Lord. Lord, should I leave Crusade if they're not going to let me start this sports ministry? And I finally came to peace at it, that I will follow their leadership. If it's to go to this campus that I didn't want to go to, I'll go. So I came back willing to go. And my old area director met me as I was walking into the hotel. He met me there and said, by the way, they decided today to let you start the sports ministry. But God had to take me and break me to where I was willing to actually say yes, that I would have gone to that campus. And then, of course, the rest of Athletes in Action is history. And today, AIs has a remarkable impact all over the world. And I know Athletes in Action is in, I think, 85 countries or more around the world. And we were able to share the gospel all over the world in thousands and thousands of gymnasiums of the world. As God began to work, it was pretty remarkable, all the things that, that began to develop during that time.